confusing me. In trouble.
Good to go, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the planning board meeting of January 6th to order at 6:30. And I'll ask Scott to do the roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In attendance tonight, we have Gail Ober, Dave Olet, Rich McNeil, Mike Conant, Gary Dion, Michael Dellavecchia, Charles St. Clair, Amy Levisick, Jacob Royd, Planning Director Rob Mora, Assistant Planning Director Tyler Carmichael. I'm Scott Pelchat. I'll be taking minutes tonight.
That's Charlie, by the way.
Yes, Charlie?
Charlie, not Charles. I'm not in trouble with anybody. Thank you.
Only his mother called. Correct, Charles.
That's right, only when I'm in trouble. Thank you. I'll look for an acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, seconded?
I have some corrections
Okay,
for that.
that would be the discussion. Go
First
ahead.
of all, in general, I noticed there's a couple of things here that were not, they were approved, but they weren't approved unanimously. I'd like to see the vote breaking down in future minutes. Just that it was approved, it's not good enough for me. I want to know how many voted for, how many voted against, and perhaps you could record those names. Thank you. And one other thing is, on one of these, I think I'm going to page, that was the 127 Belvedere Street. I asked the question if this created a non-conforming lot. The answer was the lot was already non-conforming. It wasn't just a blanket no. What we created was, in a sense, we took one non-conforming lot and created two non-conforming lots out of it. That was my understanding of the Belvedere Street project. If I'm wrong, somebody else say something. I know, Mr. Chair, you weren't here. A couple of people that are new, but that's what I understood.
I can go back through.
I mean, does any, you were here, Dave, do you, I mean, I remember specifically asking if this was creating a non-conforming lot, and I was told just because of the, it's not a problem. I think they were, it was already non-conforming, and it created two non-conforming lots.
I do remember the question, Gail. I don't remember the specific of the answer.
Well, one of the,
Yeah, so it did go to the zoning board for approvals for variances to create the lot. So it wasn't that the board was necessarily creating a non-conforming lot. The zoning board had already approved deviating from the law.
so the zoning board
So-
already had approved the
Correct.
creation of two non-conforming lots out of one non-conforming lot.
Correct.
Am I the only person that thinks that maybe ought to be reflected in the minutes?
No,
I
any,
agree. I agree.
yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, that just that a no is probably not really good enough.
You got it.
Everything should be Gail, everything should be reflected in the minutes that takes
Okay,
place. So
does
that-
everyone agree with me on the ayes and the nays and the dissents? I mean, I think that's part of
Yes.
the official record, and this is in fact the official record
So,
of the
so
meeting.
the question I have now, do we vote on the minutes as amended, or do we wait until the next meeting to vote on these?
You could vote to accept them as amended, as,
Well, you might not have the vote
or
counts in
you
front
could
of you.
just table it and do it next month.
I think we should table it until we actually can see it in
Okay,
writing.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I agree.
Okay, go ahead, Gail, and
I
seconded.
made the motion to
Yeah.
table.
Okay, seconded by Gary. Okay, any more discussion?
No discussion on table.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Abstain? Anybody abstaining here? Mike, you abstaining?
No.
You're not
No,
voting?
I'm for it.
Oh, you're for it?
agree, yes.
Okay, that's 7 then. Thank you, Mike. And Jake, you're
I haven't
abstaining?
been seated yet, I'm just an alternate.
You're an alternate, but,
You can seat them if you'd like, we have one open seat, so you can.
okay, we'll do that after. So we'll do this vote now and then, so, okay, so. that's-
Seven.
that's a
Seven in the
done deal.
affirmative.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's,
Mr. Chair, I don't know, does anybody else have any more corrections to the minutes, or were they all good with everyone
they're
else?
they're
Those were just the
tabled.
ones we tabled it.
the table now, so,
Oh, okay,
If you
that's
have
right.
comments that you would like, if you would send them to us, so that way we can update them.
No, that's fine, and I didn't get to it this month, and I'm sorry, Rob. I just, as I was reading through them here, I just happened to notice that particular thing was,
It's a good-
was
good
not
catch,
addressed, and it usually is.
Just would make it cleaner.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a good catch, and we can, and like Rob said, if anybody else sees anything, now's the time to get it
Yeah,
to
send it
their
us so we
attention
can-
here in the next month.
Yep.
Actually. So what about seating, Jacob here? What's the,
Yeah, if you would like to seat him, so that way he can be a
do we
voting
need
member.
a, do we
No,
have
you
to
you
vote
get
on
to
it?
just say he's seated.
Consider yourself seated. Thank you very much. Okay, good. All right. And thank you for bringing that to our attention, because I didn't know that either. Okay, so now we're going to move on to continued applications and public hearings. Do we have anything here? We do. We have 7.1, this is PB 2026-021, colon 604 Endicott Street North.
Mr. Chair, I have a recusal on this one.
I'm sorry?
I'm a recusal on this one.
Oh, okay.
One of the abutters and I have a fiduciary relationship.
Okay. So the applicant proposes to amend their previous site plan approval to increase the size and the capacity of the stormwater detention pond. Do we need to accept that?
Yes.
We do. I have a cheat sheet here. I forgot. I could look at that. I'm gonna have to look at you guys.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Was this a continuation from, what was it, March or something?
No, it was continued from the month of December. So originally it was gonna come before the board in December, and then they had asked to continue it to this month.
All right.
Okay, yes, we have that right here. Okay, so I'll look for a motion to accept this application.
So say.
Okay, Mike's made the
Second.
motion, and seconded by Gary. All in favor? Raise your hands, please. Okay, that's 7 in the affirmative. Okay, well. good
Thank you,
evening.
Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the board, Ethan Woodman, Normandin, Cheney, and O'Neill. I'm here with Mario Focaretto of Daylight Engineering and Surveying, who has stepped into the role that Brown Engineering had previously. Mario has been with this project since its inception, but he's now out on his own. Mr. Chair, first of all, welcome back. Good to see you. With regard to what you're being asked to do tonight, this originally came before the planning board in 2023. It got approved by the planning board. It was subsequently appealed to Superior Court. The order from Superior Court, as you can see in the staff report, was to remand some of it. Instead, what happened is it got appealed to the Supreme Court. In Supreme Court, the court asked us to go to mediation. We went to mediation and reached a settlement agreement, which you have a copy of. And that settlement agreement functionally required that we undertake a number of different activities related to the stormwater detention and ensuring that any water that may get displaced as a result of the building is routed to the stormwater detention area. So what we were required to do was to dig a test pit in the area and ensure that the groundwater was well below where the detention pond would be situated. It was to increase the size of the detention pond significantly. It's 5 feet further south and another half foot deep. The gutters should be installed on the proposed building, and those should drain the water from the roof directly into the retention area. The detention area will have a media depth of 18 inches below the base, and the applicant will plant grass on some of the impervious surfaces. We did dig the test pit in July, I believe, of 2024. The test pit results are actually in what was submitted so that you can see it yourself. Pine Hollow Campground, who was the abutter that had sued the city of Laconia, did have 60 days to review it with their engineer, and we submitted an amendment to the site plan pursuant to the settlement agreement thereafter. And then there are certain conditions that'll need to be included, in such as third-party inspection of construction of the detention area, and should it not function properly in the future, Pine Hollow can notify you and request enforcement. And then the Supreme Court was stayed during this period. So functionally, what we're asking you to do now is approve the amendment to the site plan, which increases the size of the detention area, puts gutters on the building that routes the water into the detention area, and then increase the amount of green space. Do you have any questions?
I'm just curious about, so you've gone over, your neighbors have gone you've gone over all this with them, everybody's all on the same page.
Oh, I don't know that they're on the same page. I don't know that we'll ever get everyone on the same page here. But the settlement agreement that was reached between the city of Laconia, my client, and the abutter who sued, has been complied with completely.
Okay. All right, any questions from anybody?
Do we have a map of what they're doing?
Do you have a map?
We do. Mario, would you please?
I was gonna ask you about that, so we can put that on the screen too, for all those at home that are waiting to see this. So maybe you can show us the difference.
Sure. This is the existing conditions plan. This is what you saw initially. You see the conditions of the site right now. You see where it's located. It's stamped appropriately, et cetera. And this is the proposed new conditions.
Can you point them out?
Sure.
Looking really good. Well,
So, you want to show them? So this is everything that's in green is additional green space. And then you have the detention, stormwater detention area right there, which has increased in size significantly. I think the original one was
I don't have that drawn on here, but
it's about 5 feet smaller.
about half the size.
that's the pond we're talking about.
That's the pond.
And if the pond was to overflow for whatever reason, catastrophe or something like that, where's that water go from the pond?
So ultimately, it would be challenging for that pond to overflow.
But-
Sure. If there was a,
Describe this.
yeah, that would be great.
I think first it might be important, this is what we went over on the first meeting, but what I think is important here is to know what the water is doing before any of this happens. So this, the site is sloping down in this direction from the roadway, all the way from Fun Spot. Comes out, comes across, there's a long building here, hits the front of the building, comes through, comes around this building, and it all flows down to this lot down here, which is map 128, block 252, lot 1. The stormwater pond does not route this water to anywhere it wasn't going before. Its only duty is to prevent any higher flows or volumes to go on there, downstream. So
So
if it were to overflow, it would flow where it is flowing today.
So the pond doesn't have high sides or anything, it's level with the ground, correct? It's
Yeah,
just,
it's
it's
dug
dug underneath
down.
it.
Yeah, so if we
So
look
it's
at,
not like a dam or something like that.
it's
No, it's,
see the profile of it, and you can see the existing ground line is here. And that's, this, again, this is all going downhill, but this cut line is in the middle of the pond. So nearly the entire pond is in a cut condition. So there's really no buildup. It's more of a depression.
Mike?
I remember we approved this building, the campground,
Right, we did, and the abutters sued,
and
so, because they weren't happy with it.
the building's not that big to make that much watershed. I mean, what's the
Well-
square footage of that building?
2,700 square feet.
But that's not what we're discussing now. We're discussing the amendments and to see if we approve of those,
Correct.
because everything else has already been discussed.
Okay.
The only difference is the pond is bigger, the rain gutters are putting,
Everything into the pond, and
and the green space will
additional-
hopefully soak up more of this water.
Correct.
Chair, when was the original approval?
When was it?
Yeah.
Back in December, I believe.
No, 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 May 3rd,
Oh, May
2023.
3rd, okay.
Years ago. All
Yeah,
right,
May 3rd.
2023.
I thought it was further
I thought
back
it was
than
before
that.
my time. I'm thinking, I don't remember talking about this before. Okay.
Well, litigation takes some time, and
Well, I was thinking, no,
We worked through
December
it.
back, not this,
Oh,
not a
December.
month ago,
A
no.
year ago,
Yeah.
okay, all right, okay.
That's when I remember.
Thanks, I'm looking through the minutes, I said, I didn't see anything last month.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one.
Please.
So the pond itself, does it have an exit?
Yes.
Where is that on the?
So one of the changes, and this is one of the things that have.
Can you
came out-
speak into the mic,
Yep.
please? I'm sorry.
The outlet to the pond has changed from the settlement agreement as well. The outlet previously was under-drained with a 4-inch perforated pipe under the soil, and then outletted as point discharge near the same place, kind of over in this corner. We were asked to move that outlet as far to the south as we could, which we did. It's not very far. We can't make water flow uphill, so we moved it as far as we could. And we changed the outlet style from a pipe, a point discharge, to a weir. That gave us two things. It allowed us to turn the water to sheet flow instead of a point discharge, which does not create as much erosion. Not that there's a lot of water coming out anyway. But also, it allowed us to let the outlet at a higher elevation, which allowed us to shift it down. So that came out of that agreement. Another thing that came out of the agreement is that test pit. I think we were asked to dig down 5 feet and look for seasonal high water table. We went down 7 or 8 feet, and we didn't see the seasonal high. So we suspected that this was gonna be in a fill area, just the way that the land was kind of flattened here and then got steep on the back end, and that test pit confirmed those assumptions. That also allowed us to make this pond deeper. So we've made it deeper, and mind you, when we submitted originally, it met pre versus post conditions, it met muster. But now we've made it deeper, and we originally was 3,600 cubic feet in storage, and now we're 6,100 feet in storage. So we've nearly doubled the size. It's way oversized, but it's there, and it's per the agreement. It's what we did.
Go ahead, Gary.
Could you refresh my memory? Repeat what you said about the discharge, rather than a pipe discharge, what is it?
It's a weir.
Okay,
So-
I know what a weir is,
Yeah, so what that does is,
but it's not like a grassy swale or anything.
it's a riprap weir.
Okay. Okay.
So it's near the top, if you were gonna look at the back edge of the pond, you'd see, it would look level, and then would dip down for, I think it's 8 feet, and then come back up. And it only dips down 6 to 8 inches. And this is gonna capture most of the water, and it's not gonna let a lot of water out.
The idea behind the riprap is to slow the flow, if there's any flow.
Is to
rather
stop
than
any
pipe.
some terrible, if we had a crazy storm back to back to back, and this thing does have to overflow, the last thing you want it to do is overflow over the bank, so you wanna give it a place to go, so that's where we give it the weir. And then if a lot of water's coming out, we don't want it to erode and then start to chew that out. So it's just a protection.
Thanks.
It also slows the water as well.
Thanks. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a question, if that's okay.
Okay, Jake?
On the flow rates that you guys posted initially from 2023,
Jake, pull your mic.
sorry, the flow rates that you guys posted for 2023, are these numbers from 2023 or from when you made alterations to the pond?
When did that happen?
Good question.
We ran it twice. We submitted it originally with the pond, without the resizing, without this being, without the building being routed into the pond. That's what was approved. We then went out, did the test pits, and when Ethan was saying we resubmitted, we then resubmitted new calculations.
So these are the newest ones that appear in the stormwater report?
I imagine so. I haven't looked at which one you have on record, but it's been submitted with the.
Yeah, we submitted the updated calculations that Mario had sent us previously.
I can tell fairly.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's January 13th, 2025, revised.
That's gonna be fast. We can take a look at that. Look at the size, 6,000. Yeah, yes, this is revised. It's been revised.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
it notes that it notes on the revised plan that it was revised January 13, 2025.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Okay, we'll open this up to a public hearing now at 6:51. Anybody in the audience like to address this application?
If I may, members of the board, Michael Tierney of Wadley, Star and Peters. I'm the attorney for Pine Hollow Campground, which is an abutter to the property. I've submitted in writing 2 different letters that I saw was in your packet, and so I'm presuming all the members of the board have a copy of those letters from December 9th, as well as I believe it was December 31st. I think it's important for the board to keep in mind that they're being asked to approve a site plan. They're being asked to approve a site plan, and so you need to make sure that everything on that plan, okay, complies with the Laconia site plan review regulations. If there is not a applicable regulation, or if there's regulation that you don't think should apply to this property, then the applicant needs to ask you for a waiver. There has been no waivers requested, and there are several regulations that really do need to be complied with because it's very relevant to this particular property and its effect on my client's property next door. Just for a highlight, some of the ones that I think we just need to be paying attention to is that the existing conditions plan is required to show the existing uses as well as the total number of parking spaces for all of the uses. That's not something that is shown right now. I would respectfully suggest that I think that it doesn't have adequate parking now, and so adding any additional use is only going to exacerbate an inadequate parking situation. I'm sure many of you have been by the property and are sort of familiar with the property. Pictures in this time of year aren't as frankly good as pictures in the summer. So I went on to good old Google Maps to get a summer picture. If I could pass this picture around. You can see this from July 2025, okay? A picture of the site, and they have a little sign right there, you know, car parking around back where this proposed building is supposed to be located right now, okay? In order to have the pub, bar, whatever the restaurant is in front, okay, they need to use where this building is now for the parking because there's not adequate parking. I think if you look at this picture, you'll also see that the existing conditions, under the snow at least, and right now, okay, is going to be a grassy area right to the side there, okay? And if you look just a little bit further to the side, you see, oh, a nice little camper right there. That's my client's property right there, the campground. You can sort of see that it's downhill to the campground, okay? And so that any development on the back of this property is going to exacerbate, okay, drainage downhill. Now, a couple of the other regulations that need to be complied with for all site plan that come before this board is that you need to mark where the boundary is and have actual boundary markers. Okay, the boundary between this site and my client's site, okay, isn't marked at all. There's no survey showing it, there's no boundary markers. We have a fence that is in a couple feet because there's some dispute and uncertainty as to where that boundary is. And the last thing we want is for there to be more development with somebody who's not really sure where the boundary is, and then all of a sudden, we have a problem. That's why the Laconia site plan review regulations require that that boundary be marked.
Can I just ask you, interrupt here?
Yep.
Isn't that something that you or your client would have already done on their own, just to protect their property line?
To mark the boundary. If my client was going before this board and asking for approval of development, we would comply with all of the regulations, including marking the boundary, yes.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, just to protect your rights as a property owner, that you would already know that, especially where you can see all this kind of stuff going on. You want to say, boy, I better make sure nobody's encroaching on my property, so I'm not going to wait. I'm going to have it checked out right now. It's just a question.
Yeah, respectfully, I'm not sure that it's a responsibility of the abutter, but the applicant to do that. That's what the regulations require. I don't believe that either of the property owners have had their properties surveyed recently, as in perhaps even my lifetime. So it's been a
Interesting.
good long
Okay.
time.
Yep.
One of the other regulations there's been no, waiver requested from is an analysis of, where the outdoor lighting is and where the outdoor lighting is proposed. We obviously don't want to have outdoor lighting coming onto our property. We have a campground right there. You see in the picture that I just handed out, it's really, really close. And so the board should enforce its regulations and require a complete site plan that complies with all of the regulations, including showing the parking, showing that it's adequate for the uses that are there, showing that there's a good marked boundary line, showing that the lighting is not going to get any worse with any new development. These are all things that are required to be done. Now, when we get to the drainage, we had our engineer from Meisner Brem, okay, look at the proposal. And he had some comments. You have a copy of that engineer's report there in your packet. I attached it to my December 31st letter. And there were some issues. There were some issues, okay, that were addressed by our engineer. And frankly, I would have expected that when, the applicants received this letter back in June, that they would have taken this into consideration and fixed the problems. Instead, they just resubmitted what was submitted in January, okay, which unfortunately exaggerates the precondition runoff. When you have an exaggeration of precondition runoff and then you compare it to postcondition runoff, well, it's going to look like there's not a problem. The board should require that the applicant actually, okay, run the numbers with actual conditions, including using the existing runoff from Route 3, which doesn't look like it's being used, okay, and that area in back that is grass needs to be analyzed as grass, not as gravel, okay? So grass does not have as much runoff as gravel. That's why they run the numbers differently for grass than gravel. I'm a lawyer, I'm not an engineer, but we have our letter from Meisner Brem Engineer right there, okay, pointing it out. You have the letter from Brown Engineering, okay, which you also see does a different calculation for your grass than your gravel. The planning board, okay, has an obligation to make sure that a development doesn't increase runoff. Bear with me here a second. To the extent there was a little bit of misunderstanding of the history of this, the history of how we got here, how we're here today, okay, is that the plan which was originally approved by this board got appealed by my client, okay? It was not affirmed by the Superior Court. It was not affirmed by the Supreme Court. It's currently stayed at the Supreme Court, which means that there is not an approved plan right now. Now, could we have gotten an approved plan? No, actually, you could never have that plan approved because the Superior Court said that the drainage was not adequately addressed, okay? And the ruling that the drainage was not adequately addressed was never appealed to the Supreme Court. The ruling, okay, that the planning board didn't have the opportunity to first address whether there's adequate parking, whether there's adequate monuments, okay, whether there was actually a surveyed plan, that did get appealed to the Supreme Court, okay? It did get appealed to the Supreme Court because the planning board does have that opportunity. It had that opportunity in 2023 when it was brought up in writing by my client, and it has the opportunity right here today, okay, to actually apply your regulations, okay, look at what the plan is and say to the applicant, tell me that you're meeting the parking requirements. Tell me that this is actually the property line and that you've marked it with monuments. Tell me, okay, that you've actually looked at the lighting and the lighting is not, okay, creating a worse condition for the campground. If you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Stick around. I'm sure we'll have something. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I have a question for you. So you're saying that their construction will increase the water flow?
No, I'm saying that they have not shown that they will not increase. Okay, and they have not shown that they will not increase because the pre-construction, as Meisner-Brehm points out in their letter, exaggerates what the flow is because they assume a huge area is gravel that is not actually gravel, it's grass. Okay, and you can even just sort of take a picture here. That's grass, that's not gravel. Okay, so the precondition should have been done as gravel, not as grass.
Well, I would have a question on Brem's assessment because I have an assessment maybe for staff. They pointed out filtering practices for detention ponds. Not that I've been on the board forever, but we have never seen a filter, a pre-filter on a detention pond. So I guess I would have to say, have we missed a boat? Or is this, from 2008, has this statute been amended or changed by DOT or DES?
We're reviewing the document now.
Tyler, while he's looking,
Yep.
didn't we address the lighting at the last?
Yeah, so while he's looking up the pretreatment requirements here, so essentially what happened is the board had approved the site plan back in 2023. As I had mentioned before, they appealed it to the Belknap Superior Court. The Belknap Superior Court actually did affirm portions of the site plan, which they are capable of doing, and then they remanded only the stormwater portion back to the planning board. And the reason why they did that is because the court said they could not clearly confirm the findings that the board had made regarding the stormwater. From application acceptance to parking to traffic, the court had affirmed those portions of the board's approval. So that stuff was affirmed by the court. The only thing the court had questions about was stormwater. So that was basically gonna come back to the board anyways, had they not further appealed it to the Supreme Court for the board to make additional findings of why they approved the stormwater mitigation.
Getting back to the lighting, wasn't the lighting, normally all the lighting takes into consideration the neighbors, so we have a down, the lighting is pointing down and not out or up.
Yes. Security lighting is exempt from our lighting regulations as well, so I'll throw that out there, but I will say that, again, the original site plan was approved by the board, which includes parking, traffic, lighting, everything in the regulations that comes before your jurisdiction was already approved. The only thing that the court asked the board to take a look at again was stormwater mitigation, which is why it's back before you now, which means the only thing that has changed to the site plan is the detention pond, meaning that all you guys are looking at is the detention pond.
So now you got me curious here, security lighting.
Yeah.
Is security lighting considered something that lights up an entire field and you could say it's for security?
No, it's,
Because if that's the case, you've got, right on the other side of that fence, campers who are gonna be spending the night there. And that's something that anybody should take consideration of. Go ahead, Rich.
I can tell you for a fact, as an owner of a trailer, my outside lights on my trailer aren't downcast lights. They light up, over, down.
But your trailer is where you're talking about,
It's at home, but when I take it camping, wherever I take it.
it's a camping trailer.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
lighting,
So your point is,
they're not required to have downcast lighting.
okay. So you think there'll be lighting over there?
I'm just saying, there's maybe two standards here, I guess.
again, at the end of the day, we're looking at the changes to the site plan that the applicant has come before the board with, and that is a change to the detention pond. The court's already affirmed your prior decision, like I said, regarding parking, acceptance of the original application, and traffic. The only thing that the court had confusion over was stormwater, which they then appealed to the Supreme Court, which led to the mediated settlement agreement, which we've included in our conditions, the conditions the agreement says we needed to include, so.
If I may, I respectfully disagree with what you just said, okay? What was appealed to the Supreme Court was not the stormwater. The stormwater never got appealed to the Supreme Court. What got appealed to the Supreme Court was the scope of the remand, okay? What is pending right now before the Supreme Court, and what is pending before the Supreme Court and has not yet been decided, okay, is whether this board needs to look at absolutely everything or whether this board only needs to look at the stormwater. I would respectfully suggest that rather than the parties wasting their time arguing to the Supreme Court what this board must do and have the Supreme Court order this board to look at things such as parking and the uses, it would just be more efficient and make much more sense to apply your ordinance now on everything while you have the application before you.
It sounds like that's what's been done. You're saying that that was already done except for the stormwater.
It was decided at the Superior Court. They've appealed it to the Supreme Court. However, at the Supreme Court, they just stayed their decision because they came to a mediated settlement agreement, and the mediated settlement agreement only pertains to the stormwater issue. I don't recollect seeing anything in there about bringing up anything else in that agreement, so. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so we reviewed it with legal counsel.
I agree with Tyler in every statement that he's made. In our discussions with our own legal counsel, what he is stating is to our best recollection, we are not lawyers by any chance, is accurate to the best of our knowledge. And then circling back to the pre-treatment, that's referencing the 2008 New Hampshire Stormwater Manual, Volume 2. I don't have any reference for that in our site plan review regulations. That would require some more research to go look at a 2008 document and review the state's guidelines versus what our site plan requirements are.
Well, those are labeled as best practices.
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing anything in your packet about the court decisions. Were those available?
They are available. They're in the property file. We are more than capable of going to get them or sending out copies to the board, whatever the board so desires, we can provide.
Well, I mean, I don't know how we can make a decision if we got all these questions out there and we're still missing something that you think may or may not help us. Looking at it, you're talking about looking at the court decision. You want to see that?
Well, we seem to have two different legal opinions
We
by two
certainly
different
do.
lawyers, which makes some sense as to which side of the party they're on. And we're trying to decide who, if either, is right. And having not seen the court decision, I don't know from what Mr. Teeney's quoting whether or not that's so or not so, since I haven't read it. I mean, I thought it was a little more straightforward having read the settlement agreement, but if there's other issues there regarding both the Superior Court and the Supreme Court decisions, I wouldn't mind seeing those before I make any decisions.
That seems reasonable.
So perhaps, I don't know if you want to continue with the hearing and maybe,
Well, if I may, maybe we want to finish the hearing and listen to
Yeah,
any and
I
all
just-
comment, and then we can come to a conclusion after
Maybe
we've closed the
We
public.
could recess the hearing and
Call it back.
call it back to another date after we've had a chance to look at more docs.
There are some puzzling questions here, that's for sure. Okay, thank you. Step right up. Bob, can you swing that mic around towards you a little bit? Thank you very much.
Okay. I heard the engineer.
Just give us your name.
My name is Bob Heavey. I'm the owner of Pine Hollow Campground. I heard the engineer comment about there's no overflow. There'll be no overflow coming onto our property. He was so sure of it. Then he went on to talk about how he's added a weir in case there is an overflow, and he did other steps in case there is an overflow. It just kind of made me wonder why he would do this work if he knows that there's going to be no overflow, which was his first statement, and why, when we've requested since the first meeting that they include the 100-year storm, and they've never included it. They've refused to include it. We've asked for it every time we've had an opportunity. And the reason, I believe, is because the over 100-year storm flow will show that it will overflow, and their attempt to mitigate it just isn't working. Also, where they're building or proposing building this new building is where Charlie will remember this from when you were one of my neighbors up there. JT's, I'm going back a way, but JT's used that area out there for overflow parking for, his restaurant, or their restaurant. And it's always been used for parking. This is just a little agreed to be trying to add something there where it was already approved before with that as parking. They haven't showed us any parking on this here application because they don't have it. They have the 3 spaces that they're bragging about, but we don't know who's going to be in that building, although that would be something I think your board should make them tie down a little bit. They'll tell you what that building will be used for and how many people are going to be there. If they're only going to have 3 parking spaces, there should only be 3 people. But they have an obligation to show the parking for the whole thing, and that's a parcel that includes the existing structures, so you have to consider those on your revision of the plan. You can't say, well, I got 3 spaces for the new building. Well, what about the old building? It has to have adequate parking too. If you're taking down or taking out the parking that has always been used by that restaurant, and I have a picture here, if I didn't see the picture you got, but there is a picture that shows that the current Tiki Plaza shows a sign saying parking in the rear for cars. Well, it's always been parking in the rear. And I think there was when the restaurant was there at JT's, I think they had a significant sign. I'm an old man, so I don't want to go with my memory on it, but I kind of remember that there was a lot of cars always parked out back. Charlie would have a better memory than me because he's much younger. But but I think that the parking issue is adamant. You can't just take away the parking, put up a new parking area, a new building, take away the parking that was used by the existing structure, and say, oh, well, we don't have to talk about that. They currently use part of the Pine Hollow Park property for parking. We own from the fence down. It's paved. The fellow who runs that Tiki Plaza bar, restaurant, I don't know what it should be called, hasn't got enough parking right now. So, and I know he's trying like hell to make it work there. and a bunch of my seasonals like to go over there. So I am not, at this point, doing anything to stop them from using it. But I'm definitely not allowing them to put another building up and continue using it. And at some point in the not too distance, I'm going off what I should be going off, we have people looking to buy the campground. If not all of the campground, some of the campground. And that some starts at the property line where this disputed area is and coming down the hill towards the entrance. I don't know if I'm going to do the deal. I've refused 2 or 3 offers. This one was a little more appealing. So I don't know. My wife's getting greedy, so maybe she'll outrule me on the thing. But anyhow, I think parking should be a big consideration. Also, they should be required to do a survey, as most papers would, and put up the markers, boundary markers, to locate where it is. Because this is on top of us. If anything, it's 2 feet off our property. When they're finished, that's what they're proposing. So I don't think it's something that we should be required to do. We're not asking for anything at this point. They are, and they should have to, put up the cost of putting the boundary markers in and do a proper plan. I'm a developer. I've never had a job where I haven't had to put boundary markers up when I was asked to. And I've never been able to say, well, I want the abutter to do it. There's just certain things, if you're in the business, you have to do.
Bob, can I ask you a question on the parking? The parking in front of this building, it used to be, it was like shared parking, all the way up to the loony bin there.
That's right.
Is that not the case anymore?
No, it's still being used up to, well, that DeVita divided the property up. We have part, and obviously the part that's being proposed.
But that whole lot in front of the go-kart, right up to loony bin, that's not considered to be shared parking by everybody?
No.
Okay. I remember it used to be, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, well, they put that self-service storage building in there. That's kind of made it difficult to do that even if you wanted to.
Okay.
And Charlie, I'm getting old. You threw me off my wavelength here, so. I think the parking should be an absolute requirement. They should be able to show it and have parking for everybody who's there, especially the existing tenants. I mean, they were already there. They shouldn't have that area that they do use as overflow parking taken away from them when there isn't enough parking to start with. And they can't count the parking they're using on the campground land. I may be letting them use it, but it's not part of their area. It shouldn't be counted as, parking that goes towards the property. Oh, we talked about lighting for a second. After the last meeting here and the lighting issue coming up and being talked about, somebody put up a really, really, really bright spotlight. It's on the existing metal building and aimed right into our field where everyone camps. It's one of those ones you'd see at Fenway Park. The big ones, and it blasts right in, and it goes all the time. It must be on a timer, I don't know. We've tried to get it shut off. Obviously, we didn't succeed.
So you've talked to him about that?
One of my campground managers did, yeah. Well, I don't know if they spoke directly to Mr. Gagan, but went over there to the property and asked. It might be the fellow who runs the bar that they discussed it with.
I mean, these are things, I hate taking the time up with the board here for that, because those are things in my mind, that should be worked out between neighbors. You know, you want to think that neighbors talk to each other. You both got businesses there. Your business is definitely pointed to camping and relaxing the night away, and their business is for entertainment, et cetera. And I would just hope that your managers and their managers could say, you know, can you do something about that, like maybe tip it down a little bit to light up the ground, if in fact it's pointing right at your campground, because I know how that can be at night when you've got bright lights all over the place. It kind of ruins the whole camping thing.
Yeah, it
But
certainly.
I would hope that you guys can work that out, and I look to the other party and hope that that's something that can be worked out when this whole project gets going there, and even before that.
Charlie, when this started, I went over, for the first time, met with Mr. Gaydon. I told him that he can't use the fencing as property lines. They're not, I put the fencing up, and I definitely put it into the campground a little extra, because I didn't know exactly where the boundary was. Some of it's 10 feet inside, others might be 3 or 4 feet inside, but the fencing is on our property with a significant amount of property on the other side of the
Yeah,
fence.
but Bob, if I'm the neighbor, I'm gonna think to myself, I don't know, why didn't you put it at the end of your property? You know, I just.
You know something, at that time, it was all wooded, Charlie.
Okay, but I think both parties have a responsibility, whether it's financially or not, to show where their property line ends, and not wait for the other guy to do it, because you want to protect your interest and your property. And that's the only way I can see that you do that.
Charlie, if he had wanted to be a good neighbor,
Okay, well.
he could have come over.
I-
We could have worked it out. I could have, when I was building the front field, probably put a big line all the way over the detention pond that the town put in. That may have been a way, but he's never tried to be a good neighbor. He just thinks he's gonna stuff this down our throat.
All right, well, I want to get the public hearing back on the merits of what we're actually talking about, and not, I hope that you guys can work this out in the future, because neither one of you is going to go anywhere, so I hope this works out. But we do have some issues here with regards in the planning department and with the board right now that we're going to have to work out. Yes, Rich?
Your concern is with this detention pond and runoff on your property. Is there any runoff on your property now from the existing property?
Yeah, but nothing like what it will be. Very little. We get some. If it's really bad storm, we'll get some, you know, a good amount, but normal storm, it gets wet. And it gets a little, you know, if you drive in there, you're gonna sink a little bit. But this is gonna make it a lot worse than that. And we've taken steps to try to mitigate it a little bit. But this is gonna make it a lot worse, and we're gonna have to take bigger steps to mitigate it.
I guess I'm confused on how this is gonna increase surface runoff.
Well, number one, before the building was built, that was all area that absorbed a lot of the water. That was the main place the water flowed to. And the way the grades worked, it would puddle there. Now, they've changed that elevations down there. I've got pictures of where they brought in a lot of stone dust and stuff and spread it all over the area. So they changed the grades prior to starting this process. But prior to that, the water would settle down there. Now, that wasn't good if they had a lot of people parking there for the restaurant, but, you know, excluding those times, it worked pretty well. So that was a big part, and we did a little work to try to, you know, make it a little better for ourselves and get the water not to come on the property. But, like you said, everyone's gonna have to do what they're gonna have to do, but I don't think he should have the right not to, like everyone else. If they're coming in, they're coming into a previously developed piece of property. It's not a separate piece of property. They talk like this is a separate thing. It's the same property that has all the other stores on it. So when he's talking about what he has to do, he has to do it for all of the stores. He's showing, I got 3 parking spaces. Well, good. But you got a restaurant that requires 40-some-odd spaces, and you don't have them there. So you can't say, okay, we'll do something and we'll make it work perfect for this 2,700 square feet of space, but makes it worse for the others. take the parking away that they can't afford to give up, and leave them with even less than they have now.
Well, that's gonna be, a problem for them. It shouldn't affect you on their parking. You're not
It
gonna.
affects me that they are currently on my property.
Well, but that's something you can deal with, because it's your property. That's
That's
up
right.
to you. You can say, okay, you can't use my property anymore. I mean, that's something for you to decide. And I understand that.
But it could
Maybe
be that
that's
the
something
board
you-
could make them correct the issue and not allow them to build where the parking is.
Well,
Why is the board allowing them to take the parking that's for the existing stores away? These stores rented their places and built them out.
but Bob, that's something they have to deal with their landlord or whoever. I mean, that's their issue. If they're not making it there, then maybe they'll move on or something like that. But again, with regards to you and your property, if the parking is an issue on your property, then you can stop that. Or maybe you can work out a deal with them and whatever. So,
I agree, we can work it out, but this is the greatest place to start. Work it out by not take the parking away from the existing tenants.
yeah, I'll let them worry about that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I just wanted to give some clarity to some of the comments from the other engineer on the drainage.
Lean right into that so I can hear you. Thank you.
I'm gonna grab the plan.
Now, you're gonna show the new plan on there?
I will.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the existing.
All right.
So, the, couple of comments that the other engineer had made. One was that we undershowed or over-evaluated the amount of impervious on the existing conditions. And what he is saying, just so with some clarity, and I know that the drainage is contentious, but what he's saying is, on my post-analysis, on my pre-analysis in my HydroCAD, I showed this whole area being gravel. And his comment is, your existing conditions don't show that. Well, a surveyor did not look at this land like an engineer does. He went out there and he said, there's clean gravel here, and there's some weedy areas here, and some clean gravel there, and he shot shots. And when he drafted it up, gravel area, gravel area. When I went out there to look at it, it is compacted. Like, people are parking on it, as they're saying, as this is a loading dock, and they drive from this gravel to that gravel. It is acting like impervious. I modeled it as I saw it, the most accurate way I can. I did not make any revisions to the existing conditions plan. I did not see it to be necessary. I thought that the pre-condition, I showed it, the post-condition, it was clear and fundamentally correct. And their engineer did not disagree with that. The other comment that the engineer had was that I missed a portion of pavement coming off of the roadway, which is not shown here, but it would be somewhere over here. And he's right about that. It's about a couple of parking spaces worth of pavement. But it was missed in the pre-condition as well as the post-condition, so the effect is null. It's the same amount of water as I'm measuring coming in, before we do anything, the same amount as measuring afterwards. So he's looking for technicalities, that's what he found, but he did not disagree with the fact that this will not increase flow onto the property. And the last thing is to respond to the abutter's comment about stating that zero water will come out of this pond. The stormwater goal, the stormwater design goal is not to stop all water from leaving the site. That would starve wetlands and have adverse effects. What we want to do is have the same amount of flow, or just less, of what's happening before work was done to after work was done. So there's really no difference of a new construction of a building being there. And we have achieved that. We achieved it on the first submission that was approved, and we achieved it again with a resubmission after we made the adjustments per the settlement agreement. So I think those are the only outstanding questions that they had brought up about the drainage. I think they're technical and nitpicky, but they fundamentally correct.
Okay, thank you. Ethan, are you gonna say something, or?
Do you have any questions for Mario first? With regard to what he just said?
No questions, comments, but no questions.
I'm happy to hear comments. I think it's important to remember how we got where we are. And that is, you approved a plan. That plan was appealed to the Superior Court. The Superior Court made decisions, and then the abutter appealed it to the Supreme Court. Right? They appealed the entire decision by the Superior Court. When we went to mediation, we came up with this settlement agreement. They had an opportunity to ask for anything else. They could have asked for parking. They could have asked for whatever they wanted. This is what they asked for. This is what we gave them. This is the agreement we reached, and this is the entire settlement. Your job as the board is to look at this settlement agreement and say, this amendment to the site plan based on this settlement agreement, are we approving it or not?
Do you guys know where the property line is?
I'm not a surveyor. I can't tell you.
It shows on the map.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm
It's
asking if that-
stamped by a
if there
surveyor.
are there, you know, the tags or whatever you call them there?
Pins.
Yeah, so
Pins, thank you.
I looked at the survey before I came here tonight, and not shown on here, well, there's one shown, there's a rebar found here, there was another marker somewhere over here, and they calculated this in, and that's how you do the survey. I wish there was more monuments used, but he's got two, and he did a whole bunch of research, and it was stamped by Kevin French, a licensed land surveyor.
This is the surveyor that did that, or an engineer?
Surveyor.
survey.
There's an engineer stamp and a survey.
Did he mark those pins? Are the pins marked?
He did not place any corners that were not there.
Wait, you have to repeat that again. Come up so I can hear you.
Yeah, he did not place any corners that were not there.
But are they marked now? Quite often when somebody's doing something, they will, whether it's a stake with a little piece of ribbon on the top of it or something to say, okay, there's the property line. So if somebody else has an issue with that, they can say, well, wait a minute, that's not right, or whatever. Has that been done? That's all I'm asking. Is it properly, to the common eye, marked?
No, there's no marker on the ground other than what's existing today.
There are no markers, are there?
Oh,
Yes, there were
You
two.
could see the pins?
We just talked about the two that the surveyor found.
That's on a map. I'm just saying, physically, I think it's a good idea to put some markers out there. So there's no question, because one property owner is saying, well, you know, my property goes beyond this fence. You guys might think the fence is where the property line is. I just think it's good common sense to put some actual physical markers out there. You don't have to stay there forever, but just in these hard times. So everybody is clear where the property line actually is.
While I certainly agree that Robert Frost was correct, that good fences make good neighbors,
Yeah, whatever it is.
this
I think
plan
it's a good idea.
was approved by the board.
Yeah, I get it, but again, you just want to,
Well, I understand your comments, and I take them seriously. Will certainly relay them to my client.
thank you.
Can I respond very quickly, Chair?
Sure, why not?
Okay, just the plan itself says it is not the result of a boundary survey. The plan makes clear it is not. Attorney Wood has mentioned both verbally and in his letter that we could have asked for more, and we didn't. That's quite frankly false. We asked for more. We asked for them to address the parking. We asked for them to address the lighting. We asked for them to address the boundary. The only thing that we could agree on, okay, is that the drainage was not adequately handled in the plan that was approved in 2023. Okay, that was something that was an agreement, which is why we had that settlement agreement. We didn't agree about the inadequacy of the parking, which is why the settlement agreement is, of course, silent on that. And we're bringing it before this board in order to determine whether the parking is adequate, as this board should be deciding whether the survey is adequate.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like we're not here to discuss that, though it sounds like we're here to discuss the water situation. However, that being said, I agree with Gary. I think we're maybe missing something that would make it easier for us to understand the court's decision. Right, Gary?
Yeah, I'd like to read both the
Yeah,
Superior
and
Court and the
I-
Supreme Court rulings.
Boy, I would love to get both parties in one room and have a go at it, because I think this is gonna be something that's gonna fester after this board makes a decision either way, and I don't, that's not good.
So, if I may, Charlie,
Please.
if the board decides to table the application, can the board be very clear with both applicant and staff of what they would like to move forward in order for the board to make a decision?
Well, I think we do need to table this, but is it possible, is it possible for maybe to have some sort of a meeting here, not in court, not at $1,000 an hour, in a court, but maybe just get together and, is that advisable downstairs, to just go over everything and review everything and just say, you know, is that doable? Maybe it's not. I'm just throwing it out there to try to get this stuff resolved. Did you have something? Mediate, well, yeah, mediate, whatever.
I think they've gone past that.
They've already gone past it, I believe. They've got a court-mediated settlement agreement.
Yeah,
think
I
that-
agree, but all this other stuff is nuts.
What are
but
we here to decide right now tonight?
We're deciding about,
If their water plan is sufficient?
We are here to act on the stormwater plan to make sure that the detention bond meets the mediated settlement agreement.
Which was advised by our legal counsel as the city.
If you would like, I would suggest that you table this, and then we bring the city attorney in next month, and we will have her clarify to the board the actions at which they should take.
that's a good idea, and I think at the same time, maybe we can get some information on the court thing. Is that something that would be in a packet, or is that something that we can just come in on an individual basis and pick up?
It's all public record. I will be more than happy to post it online for everybody to see and/or pick it up at your leisure.
Okay. Is the rest of the board okay with that? Does that make sense?
Would you like a motion to table?
Counselor? Counselor, you okay with that?
If the board does go in that direction, could you just be very clear and say what you are looking for next month?
Well, let me end the public hearing or take a recess on that. Which do you suggest on that?
I would suggest that we close the public hearing.
Just close it and we can open it up again. Nobody else out there that hasn't had a shot? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing at 7:36. Wow, that was a long one. And now we will go to staff on this. Do you think we should just table this now?
I think there's really no reason in going over the staff report if we're going
Okay.
to table it.
We'll look for a motion.
Before the tabling motion, I think Rob was looking for more specific instructions.
Well, do you want that after we table it, or?
I would like it
before?
before you table it. I would just like a
Go
list
ahead,
of
Gary, you've
instructions
got the
of
floor.
what exactly the board would like for the next meeting for this.
You had something first.
I'd like a copy of all the court rulings regarding this, Superior Court and whatever the Supreme Court handed down. If we could read that, and then if we have the advice of the city council with that, we have a chance to preview that, listen to the city council, and then, the counselor, not the council. Thank you. And then we'd be better prepared to render a decision at that time.
You got it?
Anybody else?
That's my
Rich?
shopping list.
I'll second that.
Well, I'd agree with that, and I just think we want to maybe get confirmation that are we only voting on stormwater pond, or are we going to open it up for the other issues? So I think we need to know that.
Because
Going
that
forward.
is, I agree with you, Rich, that's very important, because that could all come up again, and
That could be part of what the.
It
city
could be.
solicitor-
That should
It could be.
hopefully be answered by the.
I think
Supreme Court.
once the board reads some of these court documents, they'll understand.
Exactly. With that, I move we table this to the next meeting.
you second it, Amy's second it. Any other discussion, Mike?
No, all in favor.
Jake? Amy, I want to make sure, but
Seconded it.
Counselor's all set. Okay, all in favor, raise your hands. Okay, it's 7 in the affirmative, thank you, and we'll see you guys next month, I guess.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We appreciate your time.
Okay, next we have. Okay, we're skipping 7.2. Now we're going to number 8. This is conceptual review and presentations. This is a conceptual, it's 8.1, it's a conceptual review of 1085 White Oaks Road.
And Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
while they step up to the podium and get ready, I just want to point out that application PB 2026-022 for 1206 Old North Main Street, the agent has requested that they're going to withhold their submission to the board at this time indefinitely. They have to do some plan revisions. Once they're ready, they will then submit the full application to the board.
That's being tabled. Do we have to vote on that being tabled?
Nope,
Okay.
because they submitted a written
All right,
request.
so moving along here. So the applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use development with various housing types, commercial space, and recreation amenities. Is the applicant here? Wow, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of people.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Hopefully this one will be a little bit easier and more enjoyable for you. Tonight, we bring to you a conceptual,
Can you give us your name?
yeah, John Cronin, the applicant.
Thank you,
And
John.
I'll introduce everyone momentarily, but what we're presenting here tonight is a conceptual plan for the old Surf Coaster property. It's comprised of 2 separate lots of about 14 acres, and it rises in elevation over 100 feet from Endicott up of White Oaks Road. The team, many of you have met before that are here. We have Nick Loring as the civil engineer that has done a lot of work on this project. Pete Grenier as the principal of the applicant with Tony Dion, who is here someplace. And also we have Justin Kiernan from City Collective, who you've seen his work before, and he does a beautiful job in laying out these particular sites and doing nice mixed-use work that fits both the land and the community. So this particular project has 4 different housing styles spanning the site, a lot of amenities. They're mixed to fit in with the land and step up on grade. There's a single-family type model that you see in the plan set. There is a cottage. There'll be a townhouse model that looks like, I think it's referred to as a lookout in the plan, and then some flats. And interspersed would be some amenity-type retail that would be intended to service the community, coffee shops and maybe a convenience-type store and that sort of thing. But not to waste any time, I'll turn it over to Justin, who is responsible for laying out the colors that you are looking at, the color presentation, and he'll take you through his design and the different types of
Well,
housing.
before you back off, I just want to compliment whoever came up with this name, Lakeview at White Oak. Thank you for not calling it a village. Take it away. Good name.
Do you want me to navigate, Tyler? on the
Yeah, if you don't mind. I
Yeah.
should have it minimized down there at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yep. And these are the slides?
Yes, that was what we got for the presentation.
Yep. Great. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone again. Can everybody see the screen okay?
All we see is you.
Yeah, hold on.
No? Now we have the ocean.
You might-
I don't know why, but
Did you do the extended display instead of?
looks like New Zealand. Where is it?
Sorry.
It's up on my screen.
Yeah, somebody had messed with the setting prior.
Excuse me.
Just there.
I see you.
Looks like New Zealand to me.
There we go. I'll put it, there you go.
That work?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Hold on, not quite.
There you go.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit through the conceptual plan for Lakeview at White Oaks, the old surf coaster site. Just for context for everybody, this is very similar to the Laconia Village, Laconia Commons kind of entitlement process. This is the first step for us, so we've been working really hard with the landowner, the civil engineer, and their legal counsel to work through a vision for the site. I'm here to talk through a little bit of that preliminary vision with you all tonight, get some feedback from you all in that process, and then actually go through the performance-based zoning process, very similar to the state school property as well. So this is our first opportunity to show you kind of what we're thinking there. In the packet, you should have received both a copy of the master plan, so the physical document that has all of that in writing. I don't expect you all to memorize that word for word, but I also have slides today that I can walk you through the kind of high-level portions of that. Would welcome questions both at the end and during the slides as well. So talked a little bit about the team, so I'm going to skip right that. Just to kind of set the table a little bit for you all and the vision. I know, I'm preaching to the choir in terms of the site, where it is, and the opportunity, but just to actually kind of build the foundation here, really remarkable opportunity and really remarkable location regionally to be very, very close to not only downtown Laconia, but downtown Meredith. You obviously are right at Meredith Bay as well within the region. When you kind of zoom in a little bit closer, you have really three big opportunities here in terms of incredible views across the bay and the lake. In terms of that kind of rising elevation, you have that direct access, walking distance to Weirs Beach and to the Weirs Community Park right across the street. So really incredible amenities for the neighborhood and for the region. And then if you look at the site proper, you can kind of look past the degraded actual water slides and other items on the site. There's actually some really, really amazing amenities. So although the topography is challenging to build on, going from 100 feet from the northern edge of the site all the way up to the southern edge of the site gives everybody here really, really remarkable views. And that's going to be a theme you're going to see throughout the Lakeview at White Oaks kind of opportunity here. We also see this as a incredible visibility from Endicott Road, and also there's this larger legacy piece that we want to help kind of create with this vision, which is reestablishing this as a community asset that the surf coaster played in a different way for the Weirs community in the past. And so that's going to be another theme you're going to see throughout this work. And the vision for us, for the landowner and the community, is really this Lakeview living with White Oaks roots, this combination of incredible views, but also this kind of lush, more recreational White Oaks, open space kind of living that comes so naturally with a New Hampshire lifestyle. So this is just a little bit of an overview of what this could potentially look like. You're kind of floating above in bird's eye on the southern edge of the site, looking north. You'll see obviously beyond there's the community park in the distance, and then obviously Meredith Bay there in the distance as well. So how we got there in terms of the design approach, we did this in 6 key design strategies. The first is that we maximize lake views by stepping the housing up the topography. And so we did a very detailed analysis about where the grades are today, where they actually kind of move up from one point to another, and then we selectively moved housing both up and down and left and right so that the majority of housing, so everything you see there kind of outlined in that reddish color, every single unit has a view to the water. And we selectively move those items to allow all of those units to maximize those views. The second is that we clustered housing around shared open space. So having a variety around the site in which people can come together, use that open space in a communal way, and have it as a common amenity. The third is to connect the site together around this central kind of street, this primary open space network towards the southeast. Fourth is to infill open space frontages and street frontages with additional housing. Fifth is to activate the key public space with neighborhood retail and amenities. So this is going to be neighborhood serving, convenience, kind of smaller coffee shops, things that are going to be neighborhood serving in nature. And then sixth is to tie the site together with a recreational trail, and then thinking through a larger regional aspiration of connecting that together beyond the site. And so add that all together, you're looking at the overall site plan for Lakeview at White Oaks. You can see a couple of callouts here and a couple of those key moments, and I'll walk everybody through there in a minute. That's, key moment A is Lakeview at, Lakeview Row, so that's that primary kind of street that moves across the site. And Plaza, which is at the kind of high point of the site. The second one is White Oaks Commons, so you'll see a series of smaller community open spaces throughout the master plan. And then a last key moment as an example is framed view living. So through those open spaces and through those residential units, we're working really, really hard not only to offer residents and visitors those views, but to frame them through the use of landscape or actual buildings along the way. And so we'll take a look at what those look like. This is a view standing at the top of that plaza, standing on one of the balconies from the residential units, looking across that primary plaza space where the Lakeview Row kind of comes down and kind of moves north on the site. The second is the White Oak Commons, so this is the smaller greenish space, open space that units open out to and can use that you'll see throughout the site. I believe there's 4 or 5 of them. And then lastly, this is actually on the southern edge of the site where White Oaks gets towards Endicott. You see that open space below. This is standing on a unit's balcony 1 story up, in which you can see over the units below and then obviously across to Meredith Bay and to the lake. There's a couple of key framework plans that I mentioned earlier, but I just want to help call out to describe this further. The first is that every single unit either has a direct view of the water or has direct access to an open space, so, or both. So every single unit across the site either gets the opportunity to say, wow, I can see the lake, that's beautiful, right out of my living room, right out of my bedroom. Or I can walk right out of my front door out onto a community open space. Or there's some units that get both. And we worked really, really hard to offer that opportunity for all of the residents and visitors across the site. The second is this larger community spirit where we have not only a series of open spaces throughout the project, but have a recreational trail that ties all of them together. And so not only can you walk out of your front door and use an open space in front of your front door, you also have the ability to go on a walking trail, take a bicycle, to go for a bike ride and use that in a larger kind of network kind of capacity. And the thinking is, you know, this is an extension of someone that wants to be able to walk or bike to the community park across the street or be able to go Weir's Beach or use the other amenities around the neighborhood. The third is for street types, and so there's really 3 street types that are used across the plan. The first one is Lakeview Row, so you'll see that in red across the site. That moves from Endicott, moves up the hill over to White Oaks Road. And this, we're imagining that this is a pedestrian priority. So really, it is meant to encourage pedestrians and make them feel extremely comfortable while also offering vehicular access. That's Lakeview Row. The second is a neighborhood serving alley, so we worked really hard to have the backside of units be serviced by alley facing access for vehicles. And so someone can drive right into their unit, use it as a garage, go into their unit, and then pop back out. But the front of their homes is the opposite side of the garage. So the streets that you're seeing are all pedestrian doors and access. They're not garage doors. Those are all on the back side of buildings for alley access. And the third component is parking and drive aisle parking. So we've stashed surface parking areas in parts of the site that wouldn't naturally have views. So there's a section of the site, say, on the eastern portion and the most southern portion behind the 3-story buildings that wouldn't naturally have a view. And so we've actually stashed the majority of surface parking in those areas to take advantage of both views and overall access. The fourth framework is building types and heights. And so we showed a couple of conceptual plans and layouts for what these building types could look like. There are 4 suggested across the site. We colloquially call them the terrace house, the lookout townhouse, the vista single single family, and the Hampshire cottage, excuse me. The first is the Lookout Townhouse. So this is three and a half stories. This gets tucked into the side of the topography, so you're actually entering the garage from an upper story because of how the topography works, and you have direct access on the lower story. It's set up like a townhome, and so these are attached, and you'll see them kind of at the steepest portions of the site. The second is the Vista single-family home. So these are single-family homes that are smaller, shorter. They come up against White Oaks Road to offer a lower scale for White Oaks, and so these are only 2 to 2.5 stories tall.
So how tall, 35 feet?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it really depends on topography, because topography is such an animal on this site. And really what the primary benefit of the Vista single-family home is its access is coming from the side of it, and then it gets a view to the left, because you're gonna enter either off of the off of Lakeview Row, or you're gonna enter off of Endicott, but the view is perpendicular to the access. So it's a little bit of an odd condition, but we helped kind of create a building type that takes advantage of both of those. The third building type is the Hampshire cottage. So these are the lower scale. These are 1.5 stories tall. These are often on the northern edge of open spaces for 2 reasons. One, it's a smaller building type. The second is that it's lower in scale to allow the other buildings that are higher on the hill to look over the building, to allow for those to have actual views across the site into the water. And the fourth is the terrace house, and this is the one that is primarily on Lakeview Row, up on the southern edge of the site. These are slightly taller. These are at 3 stories, and that is because they're on the tallest portion of the site with nothing behind it. So it has no one else's view to block. And so that's why it's on the kind of tallest portion of the site. It's up to 3 stories, and that's where we occasionally want to put the neighborhood serving retail as well. So that's where you have a coffee shop, ice cream shop, kind of neighborhood serving functions that will live in the ground floor of that and help activate that street. And then lastly, to implement it, the current thinking is around 4 phases over time. You'll see that in phase A through D. And across full build-out, it's about 150 units. You'll see about 6,500 square feet in terms of retail and amenity, neighborhood serving amenity, and you'll see up to 379 spaces, and that includes parking, garage spaces, dedicated spaces, surface spaces, and street-associated spaces. There's a lot of information. Would welcome questions, comments, feedback.
What's your estimate of the, when everything is done, the population? Just a guess.
It's funny. Yeah, I think you asked me that exact same question on Laconia Village.
Laconia what?
The Laconia Commons.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And it's hard to exactly guesstimate. Like the average person per unit is about 1.8. You know.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the sky, say 2. So what would that give you?
That would be 275 people.
Say again?
275 people.
So potentially 150 cars?
Potentially.
Okay. Plus potential retail, so you're gonna have potentially people coming and going for that.
Yeah, I mean, the thinking about the retail is that it is, when I say neighborhood serving, I truly mean for the residents here and the immediate surrounding community that's really within a walking distance. So although there might be a little bit of parking associated with those amenities, we actually think it would be relatively small in comparison to the amount of street parking that we're offering in exchange for that. And so you'll see on Rising Row, it actually has a fair amount of street parking there. So we have 32 spaces across the site.
Okay, so another question is the egress. You mentioned something on Endicott Street, 11C, whatever it is. Want to show me that again?
Sure.
No, but he mentioned something about Endicott Street. So is that an egress for vehicles?
Yeah, so the current thinking is that would be, without the benefit of having a full TRC process yet, the thinking is that would become a full movement intersection. And so cars are gonna come, you know, right in, right out, left in, left out. That's where that becomes. Scale is a little bit misleading. This is a bigger site, you know, the use of a water park kind of distorts everyone's understanding of scale. The distance between this and the next intersection is actually quite large. It's a couple hundred feet. It's actually much larger than one might think.
Well, you're going to have a mean of egress on White Oaks Road, obviously.
Yeah, so the primary thinking is there is the street kind of connects from Endicott up, moves up the course of the road, of the site, and then connects over to White Oaks here. Those are the two full movement intersections that would essentially bring the majority of traffic through into the site.
While you say that, then there might be other means of ingress and egress, other than those two? The Endicott Street it would be a new one, because there's no entry there now.
That's correct.
There's several on White Oaks Road, so there might be some others as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we'll have to do in a detailed design process, right, that really works out the traffic. And frankly, we'd want to have a more detailed conversation with you all about what you're thinking about the intersection of White Oaks and Endicott, because we've heard preliminary kind of whispers that you're thinking about doing something there. I don't know what that looks like. Right now, it's a...
Wait. Who's thinking about doing something?
The city. The city.
On White Oaks Road?
And this is why I want to have the conversation. Because we don't yet have enough information about what you're thinking there.
In Laconia, I heard. So, you know, I've talked to a few people about that White Oaks Road intersection there, and you know, just not having it, I mean, the less intersections you have, the better. I don't care if it's 200 feet apart or whatever. And I think maybe you ought to look at White Oaks Road, and you've got the property frontage there along Route 11 there.
Mhm.
What is it, 11C, I think, right? 11C or D or B?
It's
B? Okay, 11B, I know. So I was thinking that maybe you would just push your property back a little bit, have a right-hand turn there where you can actually make the turn and merge into
Sure.
traffic, and at the same time, I know there are telephone poles there now, but with all this construction, maybe push your property a little bit on White Oaks Road there and have enough room there, with the city's blessing, of course, for a center lane there for the left turn, and then have the
You're
right turn.
talking from White Oaks to Endicott.
That's correct.
Yeah, and this is where I think maybe that thinking in the city's already started, and we just haven't been able to engage yet in that process.
Well, I hope the city, I imagine that's the Department of Public Works, would share that with some of us, so that we're all not spinning our wheels to come up with these
Sorry to
different
spoil
ideas.
anything.
But again, this is just me talking, everybody, but the less intersections you have on 11B, the better.
Wouldn't that have to get a state permit?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you would,
Yes.
but why go that, why even go that route if we can come up with something to just improve on White Oaks Road with your cooperation
Sure.
and your property, to make that happen, because,
I live down the road from there, and that is a very tough intersection, White Oaks Road.
Yeah.
yeah.
And 11B.
Not if
Because
you're only
it's
taking,
better
not if
than
you're
a-
taking a
a
right-hand
90.
turn.
Wait, one
That's
at a
correct.
time. What's that?
It's a hard corner to turn, if you're heading toward the Weirs, to turn on a White Oaks.
Yeah,
And if anybody is out too far, it gets
Right.
rather interesting.
so that's
And
what I
it-
was
and-
thinking, if you widen it and make a right, separate lanes there.
Especially because we have to consider, there's also new condos going in right across the street there.
Yes.
I
And they-
don't think those got approved, Rich. Those are done?
And everybody picks up speed on Endicott right at that,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they
right,
gotta
'cause
get
you're
up that
right
hill.
at the toe.
They gotta get up the hill.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that,
Down the
Charlie,
hill
but I
for the
I
rotary.
forgot
Yeah.
cars are better.
I'm sorry, yeah?
They had to get up the hill. I
Well,
was
that's the
just gonna say that, but cars are better.
That's the mentality, so, yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah, please.
Lakeview Row, There's quite an elevation change there.
Yes.
What's that grade, average grade?
You know, I'm not sure, and this is where, you know, we need to go through the detailed process, right? We respectfully came up with a master plan that we believe is plausible. But there's a whole process now, you know, we wanted to hear from you all and make sure that there was at least a general buy-in before we then, you know, start to really engineer some of these things. But a key question for all of this is, what is the grade times whatever it is that we're talking about? Because this site is extremely challenging grade-wise to go from 100 feet on one side to plus 100 on the other. So it's absolutely on our mind. I wish I had a good answer for you today. Unfortunately, I do
My
not.
assumption is this will be a private infrastructure, your roads and everything?
This is another point of discussion. We learned a lot from the state school process about how that we want to get that entitled, how the TRC and Public Works wants us to design these. We know as a part of the performance-based district process, whether the street is public or private, we have to abide by the public road standards, the city's public road standards, even if it is private, unless we seek a waiver. So all that, trust us, all of that is on our minds, and we can't wait to work that out in a TRC process together.
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Chair. Are you anticipating full-year housing here? Or is this seasonal? I mean, what is your vision as far as how is this going to be occupied? Is it going to be a seasonal kind of thing, or is it going to be you could buy this and live here year-round?
The current thinking from the landowner is that these products would be for sale, and so it would not be something that they would control long-term.
But there would be like a condominium association or some form of an HOA that would be an overriding governing body that would
They
determine some
they
things.
haven't quite worked that out yet, but that would be a very common approach, depending on how it ends up developing over
Right.
time.
I'll just give you a few concerns I had. The reason I'm asking this is in the last one, I missed a meeting, so I didn't realize it got approved. But one of the concerns that I had at the last project that came across the street, because we had a trailer park across the street that summer, so that's a non-factor. If people are buying these, and they're gonna live in them, they're gonna have kids, and they're gonna put kids in schools, and that's a steep hill in a winter area, and we are a little bit concerned about school bus access. Okay, going up there, like, just, I know you're not there yet, but that's just one of the concerns that I had was, you know, if you live there, you gotta assume there's gonna be some kids that are gonna live there, and for the people that are gonna be able to live there year-round, and that's a decision you guys have to make,
Yep.
whether it's gonna be open year-round or not. You know, keep that in mind, is that people will have kids, which is great, except for we gotta get a school bus up there. And that's not an easy route to do that, and apparently, you told us this, Amy, school buses cannot go down private roads? Didn't you mention that the last time?
No, I don't know that. I assume, but
I don't know
that
what
for a
they can
fact.
do. I don't know what
I
they
have no
can do.
idea.
Well, they'll have to work that out.
And you'll have to work on
Yeah, thank
parking.
you.
If you're doing any commercial area, you really can't control people coming in from the outside unless this is a private community. So you're gonna have to put in adequate parking. I mean, if you come up with the best restaurant
Sure.
within 50 miles, someone does that, people are gonna wanna go there, and they're gonna wanna need a place to park.
Sure, and I will point
You
out,
know.
the plan currently as designed has 380 parking spaces.
Okay,
So
well,
we-
you know.
But your comments are well taken. Comments are well taken.
And that's really, it's so early on. I mean, I think it's great. You're gonna try to use that site. You're gonna have to work with the state.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say any more about that.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Gary.
Yeah, I've got a couple of random thoughts.
Please.
First, following up on a couple of things that Gail brought up. First is the parking, when you talked about the 4 phases, and I saw Phase D, looks like, actually C and D are both a lot of the parking area. Would the parking be done before any other buildings are put there? Is that what you intend?
So this is a little bit misleading, and I'm open to any suggestions that can help me otherwise. The lettering does not necessarily mean the order.
Okay.
Oh,
It just, you know, whether it's a number or a letter, a symbol, I don't know, but we know it's unlikely that every single housing unit is gonna be built at the same time because of absorption. And so what we did is we cordoned off a balance between housing and parking.
Okay.
And so that if we're gonna build one phase, we know we always have a balance. Which phase goes first, we still have to work through that detail, but the comment's well taken.
It's because, as I noted, most garages are for one car, and highly likely there's gonna be 2 cars per family, even if there's no kids. So I just wanna make sure that as some of those phases go in, that there's that remote parking
Yep.
available at the same time. And were you sitting in the audience when we had the previous application
Yes.
here?
Yep.
What did we talk about? It was all about drainage, right?
Yes.
And I know this hasn't been engineered yet, but I'm gonna be particularly interested in seeing what the drainage plan's gonna be, so that everything
think the
doesn't
people
run off
below
into
you
the
are
storage.
too.
Yeah.
Because I could just see a flood of water down at the foot of the hill there, and
Plantation Road ×2?
no, I mean, you know the roundabout?
I know.
You know the roundabout by the bridge? That could be all underwater.
Yeah, I mean, it's
What could
certainly,
happen?
it's certainly on our minds
Okay.
in terms of like the next step of the process and engineering it. Conceptually, we're feeling relatively comfortable in the fact that we're offering already so much open space. And, you know, later down in the detailed process, there is a way that we can make that performative with stormwater, not just a nice amenity, but something that can help with the site. And also, because the site right now is a defunct water park with a big surface parking lot, we're actually going to be in a good position from the current condition, which has significant amount of impervious surface.
Yeah, and speaking to the green space too, I know there's, one of the things that really sticks in my craw is when developments come in and they talk about open space after they've clear cut, and we're gonna put green things and we're gonna plant 10-foot tall trees when you already took down a lot of 30-foot trees.
If you're lucky, 10 feet.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, so, because trees retain moisture a lot, I've heard. And the more trees you have, the more retained moisture that might be there, that you don't have to worry about so much runoff. So that might be figuring in on the system too.
Yep,
So
comments well taken.
drainage, green space, parking, so those are on my mind.
What's your time frame to get something
Gail.
real in front of us?
Gail, can I get you to talk into your mic
Oh,
or
I'm sorry.
something, please?
What's
so
your
we can
time
hear you?
frame for getting something real in front of us? Do you have a
Yes.
sense of
So
that?
we'll go through the typical performance-based zoning process to go through a development plan, very similar to what we did with the state school. And so, you know, we anticipate probably that approval process is about 3 to 6 months, depending on how fast we can work back and forth with the technical review committee. All that does is entitle us, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, all that does is entitle us to use and height, and then we have to go through the site plan process after
Right.
that.
I'm asking you that only because this, for me, I've only lived here for 20 years. And I've actually never been on that lot. It's not visible from the road. It's hard to know what's up there, and I'm trying to position myself to go on a site walk when it's not icy and snowy, to be honest with you. Because I would like, as you guys get closer to some build out, certainly coordinate this with the planning department. I'd like to arrange a site walk for the planning board, maybe even any other officials that you would want, because it's been years since anybody
Sure.
that is in this city and doing anything has ever accessed that property. It's been fenced off, it's inaccessible. And I don't know what it looks like up there. The state school, I know what that looks like, but, so I'm just asking,
Sure.
as you go forward, and Rob and Tyler will make this happen, that you set up a site walk for those of us that want to do this, because right now, all of us are not familiar with this piece of property to an intimate degree to decide what should be built there. And the other question is do you believe you're going to reduce the amount of green space up there, or increase the amount of green space up there? Because runoff, as Gary said, is a significant problem. So the greener you can keep it, the better it is for the people below you in our lake, which.
We haven't gone through that level of detail of
Okay,
design
thanks.
yet, but
Okay,
that will
yep.
be, you know, certainly a part of the technical review process. I'm assuming that will be, you know, item 1 of meeting 1, part of the discussions.
Oh, I'm sure, and they'll make you do test pits to see what the sedimentation draining rate is and all that other happy stuff that the engineers will do. Because my understanding of that lot is one of the reasons that it didn't get developed for so many years is that it's very ledgy,
Yes.
which is not going to absorb the water very well. And that's a concern of mine is the runoff down below.
All right, thank you, Gail. One other thing, to just remember that we did talk about with that last applicant is lights. So I hope you guys keep them down as much as you can so that we're on Lakeside Avenue and we're not looking at Fenway Park up there with the lighting.
Haven't quite gotten there yet, but your
You
point's well taken.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
of course, of course. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Rich?
So are some of these homes gonna be accessed off White Oaks Road?
It's part of the conversation. In the conceptual part of the design, I'm gonna flip back to the master plan for a minute, the site plan. Right now, we have it set up where there could be an alley on the interior portion of the site in which vehicles come via the alley to access those units. We also have a scenario in which they could have direct driveway access onto White Oaks Road, and that's part of the discussion that we want to have with TRC, because we can have we see trade-offs there. We see the access argument of not having cars slowing and getting in the way of the larger regional traffic, which is on White Oaks Road, and using the alley to do that. We also see the argument of saying keeping the scale really fine grain on White Oaks to a certain degree to keep the character that the city might be looking for. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. We haven't quite come to a conclusion. We've built in flexibility to go in either direction and have that debate with TRC when we get into that level of detail.
Just my only thought is, the poor guy that's gotta plow snow,
Yeah.
clear a driveway, and
Yeah.
back out on a White Oaks Road, that's an accident waiting to happen. Especially if you've got 10, 12, whatever units.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah, I was
toughie.
gonna say, I don't know
On
that.
a downhill slope,
That can't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, we kind of went through that with another project on the Weirs Boulevard in
Oh,
terms of,
exactly.
all the driveways that the
Exactly.
guy wanted direct access to Weirs Boulevard. And it was like, I thought the former police chief was gonna have a heart attack.
Well, it doesn't matter, we've been,
But with that being said, that's probably not gonna fly.
No,
It's
not
too
like that.
hilly, it's too congested through there. There's a lot going on White Oaks Road besides what you think you guys want to do. There's some big projects up there that are gonna change that whole area significantly.
I agree, fewer is better, and you have a lot of stone wall along that
Yep.
road
Yes.
front too, so.
Yeah, and make sure that if that stone wall is boundary stone wall, you can't touch it. That's state law. So I don't know why the stone wall is there, if it's retaining or if it's historic, but rules are
Stonewall where, Gail? On White Oaks Road?
Huh?
Along White Oaks Road.
The whole length of the property?
No, there are
No.
breaks in it, but there's a lot of stone wall there.
Yeah, I don't
I
know if
was
that
just
was
there
just
again I
the
was just there
boundary or
today
what.
again
If it's
looking at
boundary,
it.
you can't touch it.
Well, that's something the state can talk.
But they'll deal with you with
Talk to
that,
the state
yeah.
about. Okay, any other observations? Go ahead.
You may have said it, and I apologize. What's the number of units that you're proposing, or?
As currently drawn, it's 150.
150? Okay, my math must be wrong, because I tallied up, and I came up with 174, based on number of units per townhouse of 16, and Vista was 20, and Hampshire Cottage was 58.
You may be looking at a slightly older version. And
Okay.
so we have actually, in the process, we have come up with a new smaller scale building type. So the version that you're looking at, just to be absolutely clear about this, for everyone's benefit, we're showing a terrace house, which are these kind of red ones up here. And the version that you're looking at, which is old and the previous design, before we got here, that is a corridor style building. That is no longer in the project.
Okay. And which one was that? What was it called?
Here, let me just flip to your, if you don't mind.
Nope. Yep.
So this one right here,
Yep.
that's no longer in the project.
Okay.
That's the flats.
And that's quite a significant number of units that was
That's right.
proposed on that.
Yeah, so we had a conversation with the team and the landowner, and we felt like the terrace house, which is a slightly smaller scale building, it still is up to 3 stories, was the right fit between character and scale and density. And so we made that kind of revision before we brought it here. You unfortunately got one slightly previous version.
I
Sorry
believe
about
we
that.
printed out new copies.
That was the
and
one that was
provided.
sitting here.
Yes,
I-
correct,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I was
Yeah,
assuming
it
it
was
was the same ones that I got yesterday, so I was going off what I picked up yesterday.
No worries.
But no, that, I like the idea of the shorter structure building.
Sure.
I mean, it fits better in the area.
And you're planning smaller retail, you're not planning on anything like what's going on at the state school with any big boxes?
No,
It's all small
to-
private little
total,
retail.
total, retail and amenity, we're imagining 6,500 square feet, and that's very small. It's very small. Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, of course.
The last shot for now. And everyone knows how to get a hold of you through Rob, perhaps, or vice versa, or
Yes.
something like that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
You know, Dennis, it's a, these are the old ones. Okay, so now we've got the planning department report. That's up to you guys now, after all that.
Yep, so lots of excitement tonight. So our project manager started on Monday. That was Wes Anderson, former DPW director. So for TIF updates, downtown TIF, we got approval from city council for an additional $6,000 for them to go out to bid to update plans to do a lighting project downtown. It's really DPW that's gonna take care of that, but we got approval for that. We're gonna do an RFP for a bandstand out in the Weirs TIF.
For the RFP, yeah.
Yeah. For the state school project, we just finished the third-party review for the stormwater, and that came back, and our engineers had no issues with that. We're still working on the third-party review for traffic. We sent the traffic study to our third party, to our engineer for them to review. They gave us comments. We sent them back to their engineer. Their engineer provided us comments. We sent those comments back to our engineer, so we're waiting for those comments to come back.
What
So-
traffic is this?
For the state school project.
Just to give you an update, we actually got them in today, after close of business at City Hall, so.
So-
It'll be in our email in the
Will
morning
we
to look
see
at.
that here?
You will see that study, so, so as they complete this third-party review, it'll allow them to then move forward to do their phase one submittal. So when they do their phase one submittal, they'll do another traffic study on top of this traffic study that they just completed to narrow in and fine tune what the true impact is based on the intensity of their phase one development. So yes, you'll see this traffic study and their phase one traffic study and how the two differ, looking at the overall build and looking at just the phase one. So we'll have a list of what their infrastructure improvements will need to be for the overall development, and then what their infrastructure improvements will need to be just to support the phase one. So, and some of those things could overlap, like you might have to complete some of the final road infrastructure improvements for the overall plan before you can even complete the phase one. But that phase one traffic study is gonna break that down for us, so we'll have all that data when they get to planning board for this phase one, whenever that is. That's probably, what? Spring,
Yeah.
maybe?
I was also just gonna point out to all this information that we receive, we put on the website, we have a webpage dedicated to it. And now that we know that there's an updated name, I will update the website just for you, Charlie.
Well, no, don't do it just on my behalf.
But yes,
I'm
so
alone with that.
all of the third-party reviews, all of the studies, all of the findings, we did a website on the planning department just specifically for this project. So everything is out there for public consumption.
Like transparency, I love it.
Well, you know what, this is a city-changing project, and
It is.
getting the maximum amount of information out there to the residents is absolutely so important.
The traffic plan is,
And I don't
To
want
me,
to,
it's one
like,
of the
I just
biggest things, so.
had a meeting with the city manager today. We went over some talking points for him, for his meeting with the mayor and them. So I don't want to steal their thunder and give out more information before they get to relay it. There's more information coming. I just can't provide it to you until the mayor gets his opportunity to.
By all means, no problem.
So, a lot coming for the state school project, very exciting. This board will play a pivotal role in that. Other than that, we had the one subdivision for 1206 that was tabled. They ran into some site issues out there. So they're gonna have to redesign their entire project.
Which project is that?
That's the 1206 Old North Main Street
Oh,
subdivision.
right, that was in.
So they've got some significant hurdles to overcome. So, at our December 16th meeting, we approved our capital improvement recommendations. So those recommendations went to the city manager and will make their way to the capital outlay as part of the budget. We have our master plan steering committee coming up the end of this month. It'll be on the 29th, I believe.
Yes, 29.
So it'll be on the 29th. We will post that,
What time's that at? That's
6
here.
o'clock. That'll be
6
in
o'clock.
this room at 6 PM. We will notice it in the paper and it will be on the city's website.
Did they appoint a counselor to that?
I believe so.
Do you know who it was?
Yes, I believe it's Eric.
It's Eric.
Already.
But I don't know if the mayor appointed somebody different to it.
That's a good question.
So we will follow up with that.
As long as they know they're on it.
Yep,
that's all.
I will follow up with Nancy to see if the mayor appointed somebody or if they overlooked that one, just to make sure we
Well, I'm
get.
sure he did, I just want to make sure they.
So
know who it
we'll make
was.
sure that's squared away.
What's the one in question?
So that's Master Plan Steering Committee. We are still waiting for the mayor to appoint a new member for Historic District Commission. Once I receive that name, we will schedule a,
Wait a sec, Gary, hold on for Gary.
No, I'm city council.
Are you guys done?
Yeah, we're done. You're done now, okay. Continue.
all right, so we're still waiting for the mayor to appoint a member for the Historic District Commission. Once we do that, we will then have 4 members, so we can have a meeting. So I'm looking to have a meeting, depending on when the timeline comes, either this month or next month, so we can go over and do some rules and procedures, and then discuss what we want to do with the Historic District.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Rob a question?
Sure, please.
The mayor's what is it, a 7-member Historic District Commission? So you need 4 to be able to meet?
I think it's only 5.
Okay, so you need 3 to be able to meet.
Yes.
And.
We just got 2 members appointed in December.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, do those, all right, okay, I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's including me or 2 plus me?
So that's 2, that's 2 plus you at the moment. So
Okay,
we have 3. I just didn't want to do something without waiting for the
And.
the city
and for
council.
Well, in the follow-up, what I was gonna ask, is that a member of the city council that is appointed to that? Or does that person have to live within the historic district? I don't know who
It's a
can be
member,
on it.
it's a member of city council.
Oh, okay, so you're waiting for the mayor to appoint one of the
Yep,
councilors to
and
that,
nobody,
okay.
so the historic district is so small, there's no way you could get a resident.
Well, that's what I was kind of going in, but I figured I'd let you say
I
it.
think it's literally,
But wait. That's something that's going to be decided in the future too, as far as historical districts, period, citywide. So there's a need for one at the Weirs. There's a need for something being done down here, because he's right, it's a postage stamp, and there's a lot of unhappy people about that, quite frankly.
there's the only parcels that are.
Unhappy people about what?
About
I missed something.
about that stuff that's not included in a historical district overlay. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry?
Anyways, moving forward.
Yeah.
Forward.
So we got our MILF oil grant application and cost estimate this year, back from the state. There was an increase in that this year. Just so the board is aware, we do herbicide treatment every other year. So this year is an herbicide year, so we'll have extra treatment that we do instead of just the diver-assisted harvesting. So there's I think it's a $12,000 increase this year over last year's budget, but that's due to the herbicide treatment. And again, that's, I think the total cost for that is $112,000. The state pays for half of that, so the city only ends up paying whatever 50% of the 112 and some changes. With that, we had a campground that was approved at zoning board this last month on White Oaks Road. It needed a variance and a special exception. The special exception was for the use of a campground, and the variance was the ability to have two primary uses on the parcel, where only one is permitted because it's in the rural residential district. We are still waiting to bring short-term lodging to city council. Now that the new council is there, we are scheduled tentatively to go to city council for the first meeting in February. So that is that. Got the project statuses. Lady of the Lake's continuing through. Langley Cove is still hammering through. Stonewall Corners is still going through. Moose Lodge Ledge is still nailing it out. 9/11 facility is still going through. Lookout condos, their infrastructure is complete. They're just working on several buildings. Winnipesaukee Gardens, they're still trucking through. In the Charity Campground, they're looking to winter stabilize. And I think they're also looking to winter stabilize on Parade Road for the small subdivision that was going in there for Southdown.
For the what?
For Southdown. I think it was five?
4 units.
4 units?
Yeah,
So it was
where
really,
that old barn was up on.
yeah, so that was a very small one.
That barn came down.
How are the sidewalks coming up there on Route 3?
For the Charity one,
The big RV park on the mountainside there.
I can't remember, Scott, do you know where those are at by any chance? Did they,
I think
Well, they
that-
haven't put them in
I think
yet.
they were roughed
They're
in,
roughed in, they're not paved,
but they're not paved yet.
the sidewalks.
It's what we had talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's too far off from
Right.
being
Yeah.
a sidewalk.
They've not been issued any COs yet, they've still got some time out, so we won't issue any COs until they finalize everything. That's what I've got.
Oh, can I ask you one question, Rob, as an update? This board over the past year has approved 2 significant housing projects, one next to T-Bones, and then the other one over here where the old South.
Changes coming, I think that we just need to,
Right. And then the other concern I'm going to mention, and I don't want to belabor this, but I'm still a little bit, I can't say miffed, but concerned about adding the parking as opposed to the underground parking in Langley Cove because of stormwater runoff. And I know that's in performance zoning. I know a lot of the things that we have approved are within performance zoning, but I would like to incorporate better conservation input into some of the projects that are close to the water or on steep slopes. I know we don't legally have to under performance zoning,
Well, Gail,
but I'm
Gail,
just kind of concerned about that, you
Gail,
know?
you're not alone in that, and maybe there are some people who would like the city, the council, to just kind of look at the performance zoning again.
And I
And the commercial
agree
zone,
with that.
all of that, because
And I know the Concon is an advisory board to the planning board, that they're not necessarily.
Oh, but I'm just
They have
saying,
no
though.
authority, but it'd be nice to have one of those people's input on some of these
Well,
projects.
Gail,
Right.
again, I think it's a discussion that's gonna be
Okay,
in the not too far future about, some discussions about the performance zoning and stuff like that, that maybe a couple of things need to be fine tweaked, that's all.
no, and that's what I'm looking at, and one of those fine tweaks that I personally would like to see is better participation on how we're gonna protect Lake Winnipesaukee, because without it, we're nothing. In fact, we don't even drink without it.
Yep.
So, having said that, I'd like to see something come up with that, and the new city council isn't even, they got sworn in, less than 24 hours ago.
Well,
So there's a lot of work in front of them, and I'm
Gail,
just, it's
Gail,
voicing my concern.
Gail, again, I think with some prodding from the planning department and this board is how you get it before the city council.
Well, I'm working on that, because we got a new city council
Right,
member,
right,
and
but again, we've got to come up with some ideas from this board, and maybe from the planning department. We can't just say to the city council, do something. We've got to come up with some
Well, I mean, that
hardcore
was my
ideas.
roughed out idea, was to, even though it's performance zoning, to have some measure of consult
Yeah.
with our Conservation Commission.
Well, it's not just conservation, there's a number of issues.
But my concern
Yeah.
is, a lot of it does stem from conservation stuff and stormwater runoff and blah, blah, blah,
Well,
blah,
maybe
blah,
Gail,
the health
maybe,
of the lake
Gail,
and
maybe,
milfoil.
maybe we can get some appointments down here, downstairs with the department and come up with some of these ideas and then figure out how that's gonna work and then present them to the board here, and we would go on from there.
Okay, thanks, Charlie, I appreciate that.
I'd be interested in being involved in that.
Oh, I'm sure you would, because you.
Yeah, and I would too, because, you know, Dave and I, that was why I brought up on the minutes, you know, because Dave and I were the ones that were
Yeah.
just vehemently opposed to adding more parking up on.
Well, yeah,
Lincoln
but
Court.
I.
So, you know,
Yeah. No, there's a lot of
it's already washed out once in Topanga Bay,
there
we
are
don't need that
issues
to
that-
happen again.
slide under the table because of that, the way it's written, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, thanks, Charlie, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. We have to protect what we have. Growth is great, but we have to do
Couldn't
it
agree
smart.
more. I'm sure everybody that
Half the pictures aren't in Laconia. Most of the captions don't even say Laconia, they say Lebanon or some other town. Proofreading was horrible. And
Oh,
what did
that's
we
right,
pay
you
for
did
that?
talk, Rich, have you reached out to them? I remember we talked about that. Has anybody reached out to them to complain about this, Rob?
I actually reached out to the executive director of Lakes Region Planning Commission, and I asked them if they would come do a presentation to the planning board to go over the benefits of being a member versus not being a member. I have not got a response yet. I will reach back out to her, and maybe I'll have Kirk send an email as opposed to me, if the board would like that. Next meeting would be a perfect meeting.
Let's do it.
As, well, there's only one item on the agenda for next month,
So far.
so far. So it should be a quick meeting, right?
I guess my thought towards that, Rob, is that even though it may not be
All right,
binding
so
on city
let's-
council, because I don't know the law, it would be nice if the planning board as a body could make an up or down recommendation as to whether or not we find value in city continuing with that. City council can do what they want, but we can take an advisory board, a vote within this board that's public, saying, you know, because of information we've gathered over the years, we either do or do not believe this is a good investment for the city council, and then they can make that decision. But I'd like to see some form of informal advisory vote to that, to go to the
Well,
city council.
let's get him in here if we can, and then we just go from there.
Is that a city council vote, or is that a planning department or?
Oh, no, it's a
So-
budget issue.
So it really comes down to the budget of city council approving to and wanting to be a member. So city council would have.
Under the planning board's budget, the planning department.
So it does, so the membership to Lakes Region Planning Commission falls under the planning department's budget, which is, it's about 50% of our budget.
But still put in by the city council, obviously,
And
so.
I can tell you that they weren't happy that our impact fee study was not provided through them or the master plan steering, but I think we got a far better product for the impact fee study than we would have got out of Lake Region Planning Commission.
Okay. Well, I think those are the things the city council needs to know before they recommend a budget recommendation
I
to
don't
include
know.
that money.
I don't know when Lake Region Planning Commission last worked on a master plan for us. But
for-
it hasn't been recently.
They do for some of the smaller towns.
Yeah, not for us.
So I don't want to take away from Lakes Region Planning Commission.
Right, no.
But I will say, they provide the most benefits to the smaller communities that don't have a professional planning staff.
Correct.
So if you have a professional planning staff, you're less likely to ask them for something.
Well, I know with.
We don't ask them for anything. We did talk to them a couple times about things that we would like to know how much it would cost them to rewrite for us, and we didn't get any response back. We went other places to find.
Yeah, well, as the land use manager in Canterbury, we depended heavily on the central New Hampshire thing, but we were a real tiny town with just a real part-time staff. I didn't even work 17 hours a week.
With that, I know Alton, they withdrew from Lakes Region Planning Commission, and I believe they are now, this year, in their current budget, looking to go back.
Okay.
So there's pros and cons to being a member. What it is, you know, we do, what's that, the waste,
The hazardous waste.
hazardous waste pickup.
The community
Yeah,
program, yes.
we
Yep.
also,
We also
We
pay for
pay for
that. But there's a discount we get
Yeah.
for being a member of Lakes Region Planning Commission. So there would be added costs elsewhere throughout the budget, even though there would be a reduction in another place in a
Is
budget.
it a
Yeah.
$20,000 discount?
No,
Thank you.
not even close.
It's just
I don't know.
my,
I keep
I would
thinking, can the
recommend-
department better use that money?
You-
Is my
okay,
question.
let's-
yeah, I would
You know.
recommend we try to
Yeah,
get the director
let's-
here
let's
and
try to
explain
get
what
him
the
in
pros
here,
and cons
because
are.
we all get the point, we're never gonna get out of here. All right, number 3, Conservation Commission, any report on that?
conservation.
Well, I've been the maybe Dave can want to do that.
No. I'm all
Okay,
set.
never mind.
No report?
So I just give you